everyone. Welcome to The Doctor Will See You Now. The wonders of technology. Here we are split between the Northern Hemisphere and the Southern Hemisphere. And we can just do this because, we've learned over the pandemic, there's been awful things happen. But one of the wonderful things is to be able to connect like this. Beginning of 2019, thanks to Craig Sisterson and Grant Nichol, who organised Rotorua Noir, I got to meet some fabulous people. And one of those wonderful people was Madeleine Eskedahl. Madeleine, it is absolutely wonderful to see you here this evening. How are you?
Thank you very much, Jackie. I'm very well, thank you. So glad to be here.
So when we first met back in the beginning of 2019, had you published?
No, actually the book was probably sitting around third draft, I'd say. Since then, I mean, it's a couple of years on, I was continuing redrafting, and I think we got to lockdown last year, the big one. And some friends of mine gave me a kick up the backside and said, come on, you need to get this sent on to someone. So I let go of my manuscript baby, and it was the best thing I've done. It was well received and released this year, so in March.
Yeah, many congratulations. I think when a story has sat within you, for a while, and then it sees the light of day, and yeah, so here we are to talk about Blood on Vines. I love the poster there behind you. How gorgeous is that? Yeah, that is so sinister, beautiful. But you said it had sat for a while, but I'd just like to go back a little bit and ask you, at what point did you think, I want to write a crime story?
Well, I've always written since a child. I always wrote lots and lots. And then when the children came along, I wrote short stories for them, not crime stories, but, more adventurous stories. And then the kids grew up, and I thought, I've always wanted to write a thriller. Mystery and crime are my favorite genres to read. I read lots of other things, historical, etc. But I thought I'll give it a go. And I sat down one day and just got to it, and it dragged for a bit because you don't know what you're doing. So I put it aside. So overall, I think it probably would have taken me maybe 4 years until finished product, but I didn't write full time. I still don't write full time. But I think it was an amazing learning curve. I learned so much, consulting with editors, etc., critique partners, and all of those things. And of course, attending lots and lots of seminars and learning, and yeah, it all helped.
Yeah. And for anybody who doesn't know you, of course, New Zealand is your home, but you are not originally from New Zealand, are you?
No, I was born in Sweden on the island of Gotland. I don't know if anyone knows, it's the largest island in the Baltic Sea. Very, very beautiful. Very medieval, very Harry Potter-esque, walled city, cobblestones, lots of historical artifacts, lots of Viking remnants. I was very lucky.
Yeah, I can second that. I think it has to be one of my favorite places in the whole world.
I'm so impressed you've been.
Yeah, I think it's such a special place, and a magical place as well. As you say, you can feel midsummer, and there in the air there's something. But I just thinking of your origins, and those great Scandinavian Nordic writers today. I mean, do you consider yourself, and this is a tricky one, okay, do you consider yourself a Scandi writer, or a New Zealand writer, or none of those identities?
You know, I think I'm lucky. I'm a mix of both. I've been exposed to all that amazing Nordic noir, all the Scandinavian writers, and of course, you know, all my impressions here in New Zealand. I've lived here since I was 19, nearly 20. So I've all of my grown-up life, I've really been in New Zealand. So I've got all of that wealth and culture and amazing mix of cultures and people from all over the world. It's all contributing, you know.
Yeah, oh, definitely, definitely. I really think, yeah, those experiences as we go through life, you know, sometimes getting older can be a little bit of a, as one of your characters, I'm going to ask you about her. She really resonated with me on that. But then there's some really, you know, there's really some really precious things about that gathered experience and how that can then go into, you know, the way we write and what we write. So this I've read that this is the first installment, and that makes me always really excited when you think that, yeah, there's going to be more, and I'll ask you about that. But Blood on Vines, of course, I mean, the place, you know, it really is. Often it's set up places, you know, an extra character, but the place here is crucial, is it not, to the story? So could you tell us a bit about that?
It sure is. Matakana is the wine area about 70 k's north of Auckland, so it's about an hour to drive. And it's, once you leave the city, it's like you're maybe in France. It's just the climate's different, the landscape is different. It's got the, you know, the undulating hills and the beautiful vineyards and the bush. You've got the beautiful beaches, but you also got the ruggedness of some parts of the coastline. It is just such a unique area, so close to a major city, and it's one of my favorite areas. You know, apart from, you know, Gotland, for example, Matakana is in my heart.
Yeah. And are you able to spend, you know, quite a bit of time there? Do you go there often?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time up there, and have done since the children were young. There's we spend a lot of time, you know, in a family batch, which is like a small cottage, old, but it's lovely, and you know, you can bring dogs, sand, ice cream, doesn't matter, you know, no one cares. It's just very casual, and just very much about family time.
It sounds beautiful, and again, the way you speak of it reminds me, you know, of those, you know, those cottages, the stuga in Sweden, you know, just to be out there and be close to the water and close to that kind of nature. For your writing, though, for this story, did that place say to you, write your story here? Or was the story the idea already written, and then you thought, this will be a good place to set it?
No. So over the years, I always keep notebooks. I always write little things down, story ideas for other things, short stories, etc. And you know, I collected quite an amount of them, and my husband said, "Come on, you need to do something with that." And I said, "Well, okay, I should." And there's so much in there to pull out, because not only do you have the uniqueness of the area, but you have, you know, you have the entrepreneurs, you've got the winemakers, you've got the creatives. There's a lot of creative people up there, and really cool locals, you know, just amazing people, and all that contributes. But underneath all that, you know, even if it's only in my head, you can see the undercurrent swirling of, oh, this could happen. And obviously I've got a very, very vivid imagination. But that's okay, you know.
It's okay. It's more than okay, and it's one, you know, it's one of the things that I think, you know, crime writers, thriller writers, sharing that imagination with us. I mean, I have to say, the prologue, you know, that opening section is such a, as I say, you know, having met you having met you 2 years ago, and what a wonderful, gracious, elegant woman, and this book opens like a sledgehammer. It's like, okay, people hide, their creativity and what that hides. Could you give us a little summary of what the book is about? Again, without giving too much away, of course, because we want people to enjoy this.
So Blood on Vines is set at the end of summer, so on the cusp of autumn, and the harvest is about to start. So we start off at Lexi and Avery at Matakana Valley Wines. It's a fictitious vineyard, and they find something quite disturbing underneath their house by accident, and that kicks a series of events off. We have got Bill Granger, the local constable. He's normally a sole charge policeman because it's such a small place. But over the summer, he has a seconded colleague from South Auckland, Nico, Samoan constable. And they get called out and their world gets turned upside down with series of things that keep happening.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You even in then that opening chapter, and Lexi is at home, and there's a sense of this is just idyllic. Life is good. This is a good place to be. And like I say, after that first impact, you then take us somewhere that just it feels like it's going to be a place where we're going to and then things go on. But you set it in this area, and the wine industry there, is at the heart. So in real life, how has the wine industry of the Matakana Valley, how have they responded to you in doing these kind of things in that area?
Oh, they've been really supportive. The local people have been amazing. And I've been able to call on people to ask technical things about certain, things that needed to be checked, not only in the vineyard area, but also, the locals, different, like the police, there's a police station. They're actually in Matakana, there isn't one. It's a made up, but very close in Warkworth is a country police station, and they very kindly took me under their wing. And I was shown and shown how they do things, which is very different from big city policing, for example. And that was hugely helpful. And one of my critique or beta reader really is one of a retired policeman. So
how wonderful.
To making sure that we do get things as correct as we can possibly do it.
Yeah, because as you say, in an area like this, I mean, the kind of crimes that appear in the book, I presume the area in real life isn't used to this kind of thing. I mean, you're not writing based on true crime, no?
No. I'm sure there is crime, but on a minor scale, nothing like this. So I think they've actually got quite a bit of a giggle out of it. And there's obviously, reading the book, it's like walking through the village, really. And people that have been recognize, or people that know about the area can sort of place themselves where the villain is moving around.
Mm-hmm. And the villain, again, because we don't want to give away, because well, before we go to the villain, I wanted to ask you, 21st century, and writing a whodunit, people tend to, often we tend to know who's doing it, but it's more why they're doing it, or can the police catch them because we know they're doing it, or things like this. So why was it important for you to write a crime story in this format?
Do you know, I think it was quite an organic thing. When I first started writing, even though I had all those notes, I kind of knew how it was going to start and how it was going to end. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I just started writing. So that was my process. It wasn't planned out, and this is just how it happened to become.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's how I enjoy reading. I don't know. Maybe it was just, it suited that time and the area. It was just right then.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you totally. It's like this is what makes me feel good writing this. I think it's vital. I think when you feel forced into a way of writing, or this is the latest thing and therefore I should be doing this. No. How does your story evolve? I think that's
organic. Just go with it.
Yeah, like the wine should be.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I was lucky enough to sample a little bit of wine along the way, because it pays to know what you're writing about.
Yes, never mind the violent crimes found therein. Let's talk about the wine. Now I know, because I know, and I'm thrilled to hear how supportive the vineyards, in that area have been. That's wonderful, that connection, and not to single any of them out. Talking more about, for example, are you a red or a white drinker?
Well, I'm mainly red. I am very partial to a nice Merlot, but I also like a nice rosé on a sort of hot summer's day. I like pretty much all of it, to be honest. It depends on what time of the year,
Of course, yeah, definitely. But please, could I make a request? If I'm ever fortunate enough to visit, New Zealand again and get to see you, please, my favorite is a Sauvignon Blanc. So if we could,
we can organise that for you. Not a problem.
Anyway, back to the book in hand. Sorry, we digressed there a little bit, but the combination of wine and crime. Do you think it's a happy partnership? Do you think it's a fertile partnership?
I think it is, because it's kind of, the wine industry is really interesting. There's so many facets to it, and there's lots of intrigue and drama, and and also high stakes.
Yes.
And people compete doing this. You know what I mean? So I think it's a great subject to write. Combined with crime. That doesn't mean that the next book is going to be about wine, but I've really enjoyed delving into this one and learned so much, and just enjoyed the journey, really.
But I'm thinking you've the it's a bit like the fermentation time of this novel. I mean, this was a while in the barrels before it
was.
Yeah, and so I wonder about part 2, because I've read there is a part 2.
There is.
And I think that might be a younger wine. I think because
yes, that's because I think I cut my teeth on the first one, not knowing how to wrangle a big manuscript. I think the second one will be, or is, easier. So the second one's called Rings on Water. We have got the same main protagonist, Bill Granger, and he's sole charged because it's winter. So you picture a couple of months later, it's June in the southern hemisphere. It's raining and stormy and cold. We call it cold, but you probably wouldn't call it cold.
Chilly, maybe.
That's right. We wear a jacket. And the miserable weather has set in. He is enjoying being back to quiet and just dealing with minor things. And then he has an accident. So he has a fall, so he needs to call in for reinforcement, and he puts in a request. And Nico, who's been up there 2 seasons in a row, gets seconded back quite happily, because he must love the area since he's back. And his wife, Bill's wife, is quite a big part in Blood on Vines as well. Annika, she's my little homage to Sweden. Swedish woman, passionate, astute. She's an artist, mother of teenage children as well. So getting back to Rings on Water, she is preparing for her exhibition, strikes up a friendship with a new woman, a much younger woman in her 20s. Annika is about 50. What intrigues Annika about Crystal, this new friendship that she's striking up, is that she's always got a minder with her. And that's a little bit strange. All of a sudden, a narcotics pickup goes wrong at sea, and a body is washed up. And Bill and Nico gets to deal with this, and this in turn kicks off a series of events in the normally very quiet coastal settlement.
What is worrying me about, I mean, it sounds fabulous. It just sounds a fabulous, fabulous book. But I can imagine it's like you're going to, are you familiar with the UK TV series Midsummer Murders?
Oh yes, yeah.
So the idea of, is there anybody left in the, as you develop this series, people like, will there be people? But anyway,
there will be, and these people, there's lots of newcomers coming in. Yeah, newcomers. It's all good.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Bill and Nico. So let's go back to Blood on Vines, because it's when they start to work together. What's the dynamic between them? How do they work together?
Well, they work really well together. So Bill is in his early 50s. He's taken a demotion to come to Matakana. So he's been in Matakana for 10 years. He was born and raised in the area, but he'd been doing a big city policing until then, and he had quite a traumatic accident, something we find out in book 2. So collectively as a family, they made the decision to move back to a small town, and he's really happy. He doesn't want the action. He's very happy, being very involved in the community, etc. Nico, he's a young guy, Samoan, built like the Rock, massive, and comes from a slightly troubled background himself, but was put on the right path by a mentor. So joined the police. So he's only a young one, early 20s. So they work quite well. There is a little bit of friction sometimes when Bill can be a bit serious sometimes, and Nico can make a bit of fun.
But I do like that. I love that intergenerational dynamic. I think it. I don't know. It was one of the aspects that I really, really liked of seeing them, trying to understand each other and their ways of being. Yeah, very, very good. And another character that and we mentioned her earlier that I wanted to ask you about was Lexi.
Yes. So Lexi is married to Avery, and they run Matakana Valley Wines, and that's where the first incident really happens, apart from the inciting smack in the face prologue. She is a highly strung woman. She's a mother of 3, 2 teenagers and a tween, so she's busy. It's stressful. They've had issues with their oldest boy. She runs the Salador, and she also has her own production of cheese and things. But the main thing is that her and Avery, the husband, they've had a few issues. He had been a little bit naughty, and not that anything had happened with someone else. The trust was broken, and there's the stress of that, and there's the stress of running the vineyard. So they're not in a happy place always. She's wanting that stability and happiness, but she's not quite getting it.
And I love the way the reflection of, here I am at this point in my life, and the way things used to be, things have changed, and going forward, I that reflective nature. I like
that's right. I mean, I think we can all relate to all those stresses and things, different times in our lives, and it's all what everyone goes through, you know.
Yeah, totally. I think maybe that was comforting, to think, yeah, this is happening to other people. Now, as somebody, again, not from New Zealand and very, very little experience of the place, Lexi's husband Avery, again at the beginning of the novel, he has an unfortunate experience, and it is said that for him this was the reactions was tricky because he's a South Island man. Now, what does it mean to be a South? I mean, I know coming from the South Island, but what are South Island men like?
South Island men are the rugged, quiet, salt of the earth, gentlemen, wonderful, hardworking people. Not that there's not hardworking people elsewhere, but these Southern men, you think Richie McCaw, he's a Southern man, like he's the quiet, reliable type. And, so he calls a spade a spade. He doesn't get worried about little things, doesn't sweat the small stuff like his wife does. She stresses about everything, and he doesn't. He just thinks it's it's actually okay. Take a chill pill.
Just let's deal with this. Yeah. I thought it was really interesting that this this couple, and how very different they are, and how very different they deal with things.
Yes, because she grew up in Matakana. Lexi, that's her family's old farm, and thankfully her husband, her father was very clever in planting vines in the 70s, and was pioneering the grapes along with a few other vineyards. So that's how it starts.
Yeah, that's right, because before that he was a farmer, crops and livestock, and then making that change.
That's right.
And again, that historical, that historical perspective that is in there. And then the going forward. Tell us about that. It's great on the poster, that evil shadow lurking in the vineyards. Tell us about your baddie.
Well, he's someone with quite an agenda, something that stems from eons ago. It's been refreshed. His whole, he sort of came. I guess it had been forgotten about, and then he got the whole notion got refreshed, and someone was planning to do some. I can't say too much.
I know. Sorry if I put you in a tricky spot.
No, we're talking 25 years plus here. Something that happened in the past that has been dormant for a while, and then it's threatening to rise its ugly head somewhere. But you'll find that out in the book.
Yeah, in the book, definitely. But that again, that people forget. People behave in certain ways. People do things, and maybe think that there will be no consequences, or time has passed. So of course that's all forgotten.
That's right.
And
nothing's ever forgotten, I think.
And
this has been brewing and was probably just waiting for it to be ignited.
And I think the impact, again, is magnified, because this isn't a big inner city, that this isn't, these aren't mean streets, that there's danger on every corner.
No.
The unexpected nature of what happens.
That's right. And how something so perhaps small to someone else can be such a big thing for someone else.
Yeah.
or someone that might be impacted more by it, you know?
Definitely, definitely. I wanted to ask you about how the book's been received outside the area in New Zealand as well. Has it managed to travel to different places within the North and South Island? Yeah.
It's everywhere. I was very lucky, and it's been distributed through. We've got the two main. We've got Whitcoulls and Paper Plus, as well as Independence, and it's stocked throughout the country, and it's done really, really well. Which is, I'm just blown away. You know, it's pleasing. But yeah, I'm enjoying talking to people and doing, you know, library talks and things like that, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
That's I like that. Yeah, that because I mean I think the moments of the pandemic, of the virus, you know, it's moved in and out around the world, but I know we were extremely envious when, you know, when we were seeing that in New Zealand you were able, you know, that have events, you were able to meet, you know, long before we've been able to do it.
Right. That's right. I mean, we had a very brief lockdown beginning of the year, very brief, and then the launch was in March, and since then it's been fine till August. So we've been very lucky, and we've certainly taken advantage of catching up with our pals, all our crime writing pals, and going to events and celebrating people's launches, and anything else that's been going on. So
yeah. Now, for those of us that aren't in New Zealand, if we are wanting to get hold of a copy of Blood on Vines, can we do that beyond?
Yes, it's available on all web shops, internet shops, in all over the world. So in the UK, you could probably even pop into any bookshop and order it as well. It's distributed widely. So just ask for it. Otherwise, obviously online, or there's Amazon, of course, as well. But, you know, try your Waterstones and the local ones first, and you'll be able to get hold of a copy, and it'll be like armchair travel to New Zealand.
Yeah. I mean, the thought of that, yeah, armchair travel to New Zealand with if you partake of a glass of wine. I mean, I would, you know, I know for some people, you know, having a glass of wine isn't the thing, but if you do, I would certainly say read this book with a glass of your favorite wine, and I think it enhances the read.
Well, there's actually a lot of wine and a lot of food references in here. I'm a foodie. I love a glass of wine. I think it's part of enjoyment, and it doesn't matter if, you know, it could be into tea, coffees, but there's so many varieties. You know, it doesn't matter what you prefer. Just enjoy life, read good books, eat well, and yeah.
Yeah, I have one last question to ask you, if I may. Well, I've actually got two, and the one to do with the books, the time frame that I mean, these crimes that happen, within what time frame does all this happen?
It's very brief. It's a week. It's over a week, just before harvest time. So it moves on quite quickly. I don't know if you noticed, but and it wasn't intentional, but people have told me afterwards that the chapters in the beginning are slightly longer, and then it gets shorter and shorter and shorter, a little bit like Netflix. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm very impatient, so maybe that's how I write. I don't know, but
I think the impact of that is the way that it just ratchets up the tension. You know, you set the scene, it starts, it's all very calm, but then as things start to occur, so the momentum builds, and the chapters get, and
wasn't planned, but I'll take, you know, part credit.
Take it. Yeah, the pacing. Yeah, do you sit down and pace your work? No, this just took itself. Yeah.
That's right. Because, when you're impatient and you just want to get it down and you want to find out, because a big part of the book, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I wanted to find out myself as well.
Oh, yeah. Now, so my last question comes down to a wonderful character in the book, and it's Bo the Black Labrador.
Oh.
And I ask you about this because I know dogs are extremely important to you. Yeah. But it's the fact that you chose a Black Labrador and not a Westie.
Well, there is a Westie in there as well, but not as the main dog. I think it had to be a bigger dog.
Yeah.
And I love Labradors as well. And yeah, I think it was fitting. And most Celadors have got a dog. In fact, there are books on the matter. Cellar dogs of New Zealand and Australia. You can buy books and they showcase their own. There's always a dog, so they had to have a dog, and Bo was the perfect fit.
But you slipped a Westie in as well because you had to, yeah.
little nod.
Yeah, definitely. Do your dogs, when you write, do your dogs gather with you or do they give you space?
No, they're the perfect workmates. They sleep under my desk. They've got beds under my desk. They don't complain too much, which is great. They don't want for much. Little walk now and then, which is good because it gets me out. But no, they're brilliant. Brilliant.
That's to not be writing alone, to have space, but to be writing with companions like that. It's lovely. Madeleine, it has been an utter delight and pleasure to be able to spend time with you like this, and to discuss the fabulous Blood on Vines. And thank you as well that you've given us that insight into the second installment, Rings on Water. I highly recommend this book to viewers, because I think, with this, like I said, a first installment, and it gets us to a place that I think for many of us, we don't read New Zealand. We don't get that chance to read crime set in New Zealand. There are fabulous authors, but we don't tend to get it outside. So to be able to champion, Blood on Vines, and all the very best with that and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
A pleasure.